Welcome to Breaking Beliefs. My name is Amy Vetter, and this is where we explore the thoughts that shape our lives and our work. Each episode uncovers how challenging our limiting beliefs creates space for authentic growth and sustainable success. Let's break some beliefs together. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Beliefs, where I interviewed Mike Michalowicz. Mike is the author of All In, Profit First, The Pumpkin Plan, Clockwork, Fix This Next, Get Different, My Money Bunnies, Surge, and The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. His highly anticipated personal finance book, The Money Habit, will be released in January 2026. Mike's books have been translated into over 30 different languages, and his best-selling book, Profit First, has sold more than 1 million copies. He is the host of the television show 4-Minute Moneymaker and a former small business columnist for the Wall Street Journal. Mike launched 4 multi-million-dollar companies before his 35th birthday. He was awarded New Jersey's SPA's Young Entrepreneur of the Year when he was just 26. He sold his first company to private equity and his second firm to a Fortune 500 company. He is now an investor and an active partner in multiple companies. During this interview with Mike, we discussed his personal and professional journey from growing up in New Jersey to becoming an entrepreneur and author focused on financial well-being for business owners. Mike shared his experience with various business ventures, including his current work as a business investor, and his mission to help entrepreneurs avoid financial struggles through his Profit First methodology. I hope you enjoy this podcast. There's lots of great nuggets that Mike shares. Definitely share this with your colleagues, like the podcast, and subscribe. I appreciate all your support. Let's get into it. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Beliefs. I'm here with Mike Michalowicz. Mike, do you want to just give a little intro on yourself before we get started?
Yeah, I'm Mike Michalowicz.
Need you say more?
Yeah, need to say more. Yeah, so everyone's like, well, okay, so that's a weird Polish name. I'm an author in the business space. I've been an author for 15 years. My most popular book is called Profit First. My newest book is called The Money Habit. I really focus on well-being holistically of entrepreneurship, but am concentrating a lot on their finances because that seems to be a starting point for many entrepreneurs. And by the way, I'm an entrepreneur too and a business owner myself.
Great. Awesome. Well, happy to have you on today. So we'll get right into your story. Maybe you can share with the audience where you grew up. What did your parents do for a living?
Sure. I'm one of the guys who said, I'm never, ever, ever coming back home to Boonton, New Jersey, where I grew up. I came home to Boonton, New Jersey. That's where I lived. Of course, my father worked for a company. They built oil refineries. So he would, mostly in the U.S., Texas and stuff, but he'd travel all around, but was based out of New Jersey. He was an engineer. And my mother worked at a gear manufacturer. I call it a factory, but really they manufactured gears, and she was a sales rep, actually customer service rep. So someone would call in and say, one of the gears isn't working, and she had to get it fixed while keeping the customer happy, but also the service department. And she was kind of that liminal state in between of keeping everyone happy. And she loved doing that.
Yeah. So how involved were you with what your parents did?
Oh, not at all. So my parents were much older than my peers' parents. Okay. My father passed away, but he would be today 97, 98, if he was still alive. My father was in World War II. That gives you context.
Wow.
My father, and I'm in my 50s. So he was at the very end during the occupation. So I never really got involved. The only thing I ever really remember, I didn't really understand what my father did. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I just knew when I graduated college, she's like, you want to be an engineer or a mathematician, really STEM. And he said, you want to get one job with one company for your entire life. But things have changed. Generations have changed. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom until we got into high school, my sister and I. And when I was graduating 8th grade, she was off to work for this company, working on gears.
Okay. So what was it that you enjoyed growing up? What were the activities that you did?
I played sports later on And I played the little leagues and stuff like that. I'm not an athlete by default, but I remember this one girl and the popular girls like 7th or 8th grade picking on me. They came to me and they said, "Oh, how often do you work out, Mike?" Because I had pipe cleaner arms. And it was so burned into me. I said, "I am going to be an athlete." And hit the weight room. And because of Sarah McMickle and her friends, Sarah, if you're listening, I said, even this morning, I was at the gym working out this morning. I'm religious about it. So I became athletic. I even played in college. I played lacrosse in college and stuff, but that was my core thing. And also, we were talking about prior to this, I picked up the guitar. I was around 13 or 14. I loved AC/DC.
Yeah, me too. Just
Oh,
went to a concert this year.
my, God, amazing.
It
I've
was
seen them.
so good.
First concert of my life was AC/DC. I saw them when I was 13.
So good.
I was never so scared in my life. I was not ready for that. But the first song I ever played was Sin City. I mean, this is like an
Oh, wow.
backtrack B-side, and fell in love with guitar. I probably could belt out 10 or 15 AC/DC songs on top of my head right now. And so I
Yeah.
still play guitar.
Yeah.
Mostly acoustic now, but I'll tell you, Back in Black on acoustic sounds pretty badass.
Oh, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. Oh,
So you played, how did you teach yourself guitar?
I went to an instructor. So we were talking about the School of Rock. This
Mhm.
guy, I remember the guy's name. His name was Bob, and he looked like the quintessential hair metal. Like he could have played for Cinderella type of
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Hair flowing everywhere, and he had all the rings on and stuff. And he's like, "Okay, we're gonna practice our first song." I'm like, "What is it?" He's like, "Mary Had a Little Lamb." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "No." And so I went to this rocker dude, and we went through the book, and it was like, memorize, the first string, it's an E, F, F sharp, G. And I was like, "Oh my God." I did it for 8 months. And I remember him saying to me once, he's like, "You're not practicing afterwards." I'm like, "I just don't like music." And then I had a buddy in school who was like, "Dude, power chords. All you gotta do is an A power chord, E power chord. You're gonna sound like a badass." And I did it. And all of a sudden I'm like, guitar is amazing. So that's how I actually learned, was then from buddies and just fiddling around, buying, whatever songs I want to listen. You could buy books like Led Zeppelin's Stairway to
Mhm.
Heaven. I learned from the book. I went through
Yeah.
it. And now it's all YouTube, you know?
It's
Oh,
so interesting because I had to practice I played classical music growing up, and I had to practice an hour a day with a time it was an egg timer that
oh yeah, metronome.
like
Sort of, yeah, yeah.
No, like,
Just the time,
now
the hour.
yeah, like, I couldn't end a minute early,
Oh
else
gosh.
you got more time added, and so it, like, took away the fun of it, like
Yeah.
you were saying, and when I put my kids in School of Rock, because I was like, "That looks like fun." One time I took them out, and my younger son basically was, like, not practicing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Why don't you practice?" And he's like, "Without a concert, what's the point?" Like like,
That's so funny.
I was like, "Alright, you're going back to School of Rock."
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I love it. To me, it's become a form of an outlet of, instead of reading a book or something like that, it's just,
mhm,
for me, it's a great way to unwind.
mhm. So, when you were graduating high school, so did you follow what your dad told you to be an engineer, or what
No,
was your
kinda,
path?
kinda. So I went to Virginia Tech.
Mhm.
Virginia Tech was a technical school for engineers and other STEM kinda oriented kids. And I played lacrosse down there. So I went there,
Oh,
but
okay. So you were an athlete.
I was athletic enough. I wouldn't consider myself, this is the craziest part. I became captain of the team.
Wow.
So I could hold my own. I was a starter, but I wasn't, there was elite athletes there. I was not that. But I'm so grateful for, is I learned how to market in
Mm,
college. The lacrosse team got 0 PR, and figured out how to get us tons of PR. We were in the newspaper, the school paper all the time and stuff. And, Virginia Tech had like 30,000 students, 20, I don't know, it was big. And so the team's like, "Holy cow, what are you doing?" And that was part of the reason I think I became captain. But nonetheless, I went to that school because it was as far away from my parents as possible. I love my parents. I just wanted to be independent. I studied
mm,
business there, and I had no aspirations of being an engineer, nor the stamina or intelligence to do that. So I studied business as an average plus student, maybe like a B grade
Mhm.
on average on general. And I think my dad was happy because I went to an engineering school, so he could say that. And I think I was happy because I didn't have to do engineering.
So, what was your major then? Business or
Business, yeah, business finance, ironically,
okay,
or coincidentally, I should say,
okay.
which I
I don't
learned nothing about finance.
you learned nothing about
It was
it.
so technical and so like confusing.
Yes.
And what I teach today is the antithesis of what they taught. It's all about behavioral management. Like, understand your behavioral wiring, and you'll be
Mhm.
good with money. Don't
Right.
force yourself into this convoluted, complex logic.
Yeah. And I think that's what scares everyone off as well when it's if you're not a math person or a numbers person, it's seems
Yeah,
overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah. And most people aren't.
Right.
Most people aren't, and I think we abuse ourselves and say, "I'm not good at math, therefore I'm not good at money." No, you're good at being you. We just need a
Right.
system that works with who you are. Channel your behaviors. I actually have a saying in a few of my books: "Don't change who you are, channel who you are. Have a system that's built specifically for you, and you'll thrive."
So, what did you do with your finance degree?
I got a job at a computer store selling computers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wait, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Couldn't
Yeah.
get a job after college. And so I did get an offer from the government, and I'm not government material. So I worked at a place I interned. It was a computer store. Initially, they had me programming. I actually enjoy, still do, to program.
Mhm.
They said, "Wow, you seem to be able to, you seem to be able to, that's programming.
That's
You'll
so
learn."
good.
Yeah, it's also playing the piano really fast. And
For
they
the
said,
team who
"You can
can't see,
also,"
he's just playing piano in the air.
yeah, air piano. "You can present pretty well. We want you to go on a sales appointment." I remember doing my first sales appointment, and I wasn't hooked, but I kind of understood the process, and I was able to make a sale. And they said, "Do it again and do it again." And so I became a salesperson and project manager for this company, the computer systems, and that inspired me. It's like, I'm going to start my own company.
Mm.
And so I became an entrepreneur just a couple years after graduating college.
What was your, uh, first company?
Same thing, computer networking it was called.
Okay.
VAR was the term back in the day, value
Yeah.
added
Mhm.
reseller. But
Yeah.
basically, we installed networks. So there's
Okay.
a system called NetWare, which was the big program, or NOS, which is network operating system, is a big operating system for networks back in the day. We installed NetWare networks, and that ultimately became Windows networks and so forth.
So how did you transition into helping entrepreneurs? What happened with that business?
The problem, and this is not going to sound like a problem, is I sold it and I
Mm.
made some money. I then started a second business in computer crime investigation and sold it and made a lot of money. And these are problems because I thought I knew everything about entrepreneurship. I'm like, oh, start a business, pump it and dump it. Start a business, pump it and dump it, grow it
Mhm.
quickly and do certain things. So I became arrogant. And what happened then is the collapse. I lost all of it because I'm like, I'm going to become an angel investor. I'll buy start all these businesses. And I lost everything and lost all the money. And I'll never forget the moment. I talk about it often. Is I came home to my family to tell them we're about to lose our house, which we did, because we lost everything financially. I lost everything financially, and my
Did you
daughter.
just invest in the wrong companies or what?
No, no, the companies were great. It was me. I was like, "Oh, Amy, you got a business idea. Here's 100 grand, but there's something more valuable coming. It's me. I'm going to be here, and we're going to grow this like crazy." And I was just all over the place. I wasn't. You may not even have a business idea. I was just like, "Let's just do something." And so
Yeah.
it was all over the place. I was working with college students, had never run a business before. I was going to other businesses. They weren't complementary. It was just crazy.
Mhm.
But also, I was starting to live a lifestyle now. I'm like, I deserve a vacation home. I deserve all the cars. I had, like, the expensive cars and all that stuff. And just the money was going away so fast. I could see the bank account dwindling, but
Mhm.
logically couldn't accept it. It's like, something will
Mhm.
happen. Then it hit rock bottom. I couldn't pay a tax bill. I couldn't pay debt. And I came home to my family, and my daughter, the short story is, she's 9 years old at the time. She grabs her piggy bank. He says, Daddy, since you can't pay our bills, I'll pay our bills.
Aw.
I know, I know. And she's now 27, that girl. That moment, in retrospect, became the most important moment of my life. I look back and say, I realize I don't know much about entrepreneurship. I still don't know that much. I know more than I've ever known, perhaps I know more than some other entrepreneurs, or at least different perspectives, but I don't know nearly enough. So I am on this relentless thirst quest to understand everything about money, everything about operating a business, everything. And that became me, that triggered me to become an author. And that happened only 15 years ago, or maybe more now, 17 years ago. And I'm just devoted. I believe the rest of my existence on this planet will be trying to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. I want to show you something. If I can turn this camera right there. See that sign? Eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. This is my office in town. I also have an office at home. Everywhere I go, I have that sign. That it's so ingrained in me that I have to
Yeah.
fix this.
Yeah. And it's such a real thing. I know from being a CPA and working with small businesses, so many people won't even look at their numbers because they're afraid. They've taken money from people and they don't even want to know what's happening.
I know.
It doesn't mean it's not happening. So,
Yeah. But it's human nature. That's what I did.
right.
When we had no money, when I had no money, bills would be coming in and I would just let them stack up. If I didn't open the envelope, my thought was maybe I don't have to face the truth. But then the envelopes would come in and saying collections notice on it and stuff like that. And it's terrifying, but it is a normal response to hide away from it. But there's a way to recover. And that's what I did for myself. I think one of the most interesting things is, I believe this is true for you, Amy, for me, for everyone listening, is the thing that we feel compelled or called to teach is actually the thing we need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach everything I can about entrepreneurship and the journey and money. Honestly, I think that's really what I need to learn on this planet.
Yeah, it's true. I heard you speak once and there was something that stuck with me. I think it was your Profit First book where you did it for college students, but the moms.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that because there was a line you used and I can't think of it, but it's so true where their spouses were like passive aggressive support.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
I'll tell you.
remember what you said?
I
'Cause
do remember.
yeah.
So it was my very first book. I wrote a book called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. It was this edgy, admittedly sophomoric, but aggressive. It was my phase of life where I was just kind of angry about entrepreneurship, but also saw there was a better path. And then the book went on to be moderately successful. But I also thought that the consumer would be me. And so I looked at me, just an earlier version of me, and said, I graduated college and started a business. Therefore, I'm going to look for white males that are graduating college looking to start a business. So I started going to all these different universities. Well, I got a call from a mom who said, my son came home and he had purchased a book where you spoke and he dropped it and he's not reading it. So I picked it up because the title's so crazy. And she's like, this book is speaking to me. I had the same kind of retaliatory, I can do this, but the world doesn't believe me mentality. And mom after mom, 5 maybe moms over a year period called me.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I said, oh my gosh, I didn't write this for college kids. I wrote for moms. Here's what they told me. When I was speaking to them on the phone, and I subsequently started speaking only at women's events. When these children were going to college, the moms were experiencing their first empty nest and were saying, you know what? I want to pursue my life dream of starting that business. My husband, and this is what you're getting to, my husband is a verbal supporter, but emotional detractor.
Yes.
Meaning, he says, okay, go start that boutique or whatever that dream was of yours, but you're screwing us. You're taking away our vacation money. You're ruining us. I have to care. And not saying those words, but emoting that.
Yes.
And what a dysfunctional conflict. And so these women were saying, you're the first male figure that doesn't pander to the female audience. You don't say you're better. You're just sharing. It's a hard effing journey. Here's how you do it. Good luck. But I'm on your side. We need your success. And so it started to land with the female market. Someone I never thought I'd be presenting to became my core community. And what happened is I spoke with a lot of women entrepreneurs at all these different events. It took about 5-6 years, but they carried me on their shoulders to larger and larger and more vast platforms.
Yeah. I think that verbal supporter, emotional distractor, is that what you said?
Detractor, yeah, emotional
Detractor, yeah. It can happen in so many it can be your partner in your business. It can be, it's that money pressure at the end of the day that becomes this passive aggressive thing that's happening while you're trying to be positive, optimistic, try to grow this business. It's, and it's like no one talks about that. You were the first person that ever said that. And I was like, that's it.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny too is we as entrepreneurs have this kind of necessary but perverted relationship with our customers, our clients. If I was your doctor and you came in and said, I'm not feeling well, and I said, okay, but before we get started with the exam, I want you to know I'm not making any money. I'm really desperate. A business is really struggling and I need more patients. Okay, come on in. Get away from me.
Right.
Conversely, if the doctor comes out and she says, I'm very profitable, I have a very sustainable business, I'm rock solid, that's someone you want to do business with because you know they're in the right mental state. So we as entrepreneurs, even if we're struggling, have to say we are crushing it. And we have to promote that. So there's this conflict inside of this external confidence, which may be a lie, compared to this internal fear, which may be the truth. And they're fighting inside of us, which is a really difficult way to sustain.
Yeah. Yeah. So many good points there. So maybe you want to just let the audience know what you do today and how your communities work.
So, so a few things. So I'm a business investor again, believe it or not, I've gotten back into it. Round two, 1,000 times better. I've learned a lot in the process. And so we're investing in businesses that are currently doing $1 million in revenue to maybe even 15 million in revenue, but are struggling. The owner is not profitable. They're overwhelmed. They're stressed out. I know how to fix these businesses. And we go in, we fix them, and then we give the keys back to the owner. So we only share in the success while we're fixing them and then return the business to the owner. And that's the dream. If I had an investor in my business, that's what I want. I don't want someone that takes equity. I don't want someone that coaches me and is talk therapy. I want someone that's in it with me, helps me, and then lets me fly again. So I'm doing that. And we're in about, I got to check. I think we're in 20 companies now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we started off with 1 or 2 and we just added 5 a month ago. And we have a portfolio manager. It sounds like such a sophisticated term, Greg.
Yeah.
And he's called and said, we're bringing on 3 more companies. But I'm also an author. That's my full-time career. And I'm very proud of Profit First in particular, because that built an organization called Profit First Professionals. And so what those are accountants like yourself, CPAs, bookkeepers, coaches who use the Profit First methodology to help businesses become sustainably profitable. I'll tell you the ultimate secret with the investing I'm doing. What we do is we actually hire a Profit First professional and other experts too from my other books. We bring those experts into these businesses and surprise, surprise, they actually fix the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You've created the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today. And so many great things that I'm sure our audience is going to benefit from.
This has been a joy. Thanks for having me, Amy.
And now for my mindful moments with this interview with Mike Michalowicz. We talked about that his beginnings were in New Jersey and he claimed he never was going to go back, but he did. And also his beginnings with sports, where he became an athlete because he was told he had small arms by a cute girl at school. And that led him on a path to not only work out, but also eventually become an athlete with lacrosse and play at his college as well. The other thing that Mike and I have in common is our love for music. He started guitar at 13 years old, and we talked about his first instructor being very classically trained and him wanting to really understand from the rock point of view and get more excited about music. And when he had some friends show him power chords, what that changed for him. And I think it's just an important lesson. I grew up the same way with classical music, and I did love playing the violin, but I always wanted to figure out how to make it electric. And now they make electric violins, which is exciting. And I have 1 or 2. However, the important part of this is, how do you make things fun? And this goes to our work or our hobbies. I really learned this lesson with my own son when he was little, that I had hated practicing when I was young. And, Mike had the same experience where he wasn't coming and practicing as well. And it's important that we figure out how to put the fun into things that, take technical expertise, take, the time to learn it and update it to what today's culture is like if we want people to enjoy things. And that's whatever we do at work, whatever we do on the outside, is to figure out how to bring the fun into it. And I really learned that with my younger son when I tried to take him out of originally School of Rock and put him in more classical training, and he got bored and he wasn't practicing. And I put him right back because he wanted to perform. And that's really the exciting thing when we can see what the output is of all that daily grind. And that's the same thing in our work, is not only for ourselves to celebrate the win after we've put in that grind, but also for every single person in our organization to understand how they feed into the successes of the business so that their work matters and they know it matters and how it aligns with that. So really important to think about that in our everyday life. The other thing that we talked about was his take on finance and really coming from a behavioral standpoint versus the technical side of it, and that mindset of really trying to understand where you are as a business person or an entrepreneur and how you interpret numbers, or whether you have fear of it or no fear of it, and how do you find the pathway to align with the way that you think, the way that you visualize things and understand things. It's really important to do that so that we can make sure that we are achieving what we want in finance. So we talked about his beginnings of where he really became a salesperson, which led to him owning his first company, and also talked about where he got this expertise in running businesses and selling businesses. And, I think all of us can claim this when we're younger. We think we've got it until we don't got it. And something bad happens in our lives and we have to learn from that and do the upward climb again. Those are the times that we learn the most. In our successes, we don't always learn as much as the times where we're in the muck and have to work through it. And that was really what led him on this journey to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty, which I love, and being relentless to understand it, because it became his passion of not only what he experienced, but not wanting any other entrepreneur to experience it. And how do you teach it in a way to change that mindset? The other thing that I wanted to bring up too was what I brought up to him about one of his books, where it ended up where his target audience were mom entrepreneurs. And that is a really important thing about customers, is that we can think we know who our customers are going to be and who we're targeting. And then we have to be open to see who is actually interested and wants a piece of what we're doing, and make sure that we pivot and change based on that. And that led him, because he was open to shifting and learning that market, it not only led him to, help women entrepreneurs, but on top of that, it started launching his whole Profit First professionals community. And now it's utilized today in the investor work that he does. So many great actions that came out of his stories today. And I hope that you were inspired as well, and even pick up one of his many books if you are on the entrepreneurial journey, so that you can learn from his successes and his downfalls as well. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. And I really appreciate all of your support and the work that we do at the B3 Method Institute. I look forward to our next guest and learning those stories and how those stories will help you. Just remember, that your energy is contagious. And so be very intentional about how you go back through the day, taking those brief breaks to just step back, observe, and show up the way you intend to. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Breaking Beliefs podcast. I hope you will take a moment to pause before entering back into your day to reflect on this podcast and note 1 to 2 actions you are inspired to do from today's conversation that you could incorporate into your life. To read the full blog and listen back to this episode or any other, you can find them at www.amyvetter.com/Breaking Beliefs podcast and related videos on my YouTube channel. For daily inspiration, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Amy Vetter CPA. I hope that you will choose to like this and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and more so that you can join us for more inspiration on our next episode.